Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, we are going to be taking a look at the upcoming Uma that is Tamamo Cross. I know a lot of people have been waiting for her as she's one of the Umas in the kind of the Cinderella Grey series, and so she is an Oshi for a lot of people. So I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at her, and just like all my other videos, we'll take a look at her stat bonuses, her skills, as well as what else we have coming out around her, and whether or not you want to pull for her. Now, one thing that's going to be unique with Tamamo Cross compared to other Umas is that we are expecting to get some free pulls alongside her. And so we are, I think it's 40 to 50 pulls we should get on her banner. And so what that basically does is kind of give you a discount if you have very bad luck and you need to go all the way to pity. You're effectively having a discount going to pity, as you're going to have those 50 pulls, making it cost only 22,500 carats versus a full 30,000. So that might be one thing that could persuade you there. But it does have the negative effect. If you want to bring her for the upcoming champions meeting, you're going to have to wait out those free pulls, which she is very strong in longs. But let's just go ahead and get right into it and see what she's got going on. So when I get to the stat bonuses, she's just like Goldship, 20% stam, 10% power. I really like that. As she's going to be very good for longs, which we'll see here in a second. The 20% stamina makes it pretty easy to hit your stamina marks, as you've already probably seen when you've built Goldship, as well as power to really up your power. Now, it does make speed a little bit harder to hit. But this does allow you to, when you have a power bonus versus not a speed bonus, it means when you bring more speed cards to try and get your 1200 speed, you're just going to also get benefit off that in getting a higher power overall. And then hopefully with some good hits, you can get your stamina up. Depending on, like, for right now, Unity Cup, you have Rico. And in future scenarios, making you track, it's just going to be that much easier to hit your stat break points. Although no wit, which is kind of a negative, but that won't be as much of a problem going into future scenarios. When we look at her aptitude, she's got A in turf, A in medium, and long, and long's going to be the stronger one that she is suited for here, but she'll be fine in mediums as well. And also being an E in mile effectively means she's good in miles, in the sense that you're going to bring mile sparks, and that'll go all the way up to A when you do miles. Now she's an A in end, late, and pace. Now, that's good that she's very positioned. She can be in all the positions, which you'll see in her alt. She can play in all positions. Very negative for building her as a parent. Her alt's really not going to be all that much of an inherent one anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But just know you're not going to, you're going to have a harder time getting long, medium, mile, or turf sparks, just for the simple fact she has 3 strategies that she can hit there. Not crazy, because she's more of an ace anyway than a parent, so not too big of a deal there. Now, when we get to her unique skill is very, very strong, but it is a positional one. So it's bolt down the track, like lightning when well positioned, or aiming for the front from mid-pack on a straight in the second half of the race. Now, when you actually look at what her alt does, it's got a 0.35 speed increase as well as a 0.1 acceleration with a base duration of 5 seconds, which for longs is quite a long time. We've already seen that with Goldship, so she's very similar to Goldship in that respect, that it's a long alt duration as well as then getting big speed, but it does have acceleration as well. But it is well positioned, meaning she needs to be in either 6th or 7th place, which is going to be more of our end closer / late surger position, or 3rd and 2nd, and then it has to be the second half of the race on a straight. Now, there are some good things with this if you can hit it, and that is it can have speed carryover. Now, we'll take a look at the tracks here if they look at the rest of her skills, though, and how we can kind of show that it can give you some really good carryover if you trigger it correctly or in the right location. Now, she has Tail Held High, Position Pilfer, more of a late surger skill, and then Thunderbolt Step. Not really a big deal. But where she is really strong here is she has built-in straightaway spurt. And then she's going to be the first Uma that we're going to see the gold version of Tail Held High, which is Tail 9. Very, very strong. And this is going to be kind of the skill that's going to be like a must-have on her, as it's a 0.35 speed increase versus a 1.5 of Tail Held High. and what should help her position into that 6th or 7th place in the mid pack of the race to then try and get that speed carryover on that straight before the late race. And then if you do build her as a late surger, you do have Fast and Furious built in, which is really nice, which you normally only get, I believe, right now on the Tamamo Cross stamina card. And we'll look at the evolutions here towards the end. Now, how it kind of works with their alt when we look at the track. All right, so we have the first track I wanted to look at, which is the Arima Keenan. This is one we're going to regularly see on a yearly basis, and this is the current upcoming Sagittarius Cup. And so with this one, as I mentioned, it's going to be what you're really trying with Tamamo Cross on her alt is getting that speed carryover, which would be, as you can see, the late race here. If you can activate it on this straight, in most locations here, she will be able to carry it over into that late race, which then alongside with straightaway spurt can be very, very strong. And also, she has acceleration itself in here, which alongside straightaway spurt can be very, very strong. And now the nice thing also on this is the first straight here at the beginning of the race in lap 1 is not in the second half of the race. The conditional is second half. And so you won't be able to activate it here, but the negative being that she needs to get in that 6th and 7th place. One thing that is going to happen on the halfway point is you're going to see Goldship, which has an easier to trigger alt, which just requires her to be, I think, in 6th or back or further back, is going to trigger her alt and push up. And that can be a problem if she passes your Tamamo Cross, and then your Tamamo Cross is behind her and cannot activate it here. Now, there is, like I said, the big benefit that can help push you up to kind of counter that, which is going to be Tail 9, which nobody else will have access to at this point, as well as hopefully other mid-leg skills. You're going to want very good mid-legs as well as high wit, and that can position you, and then you just trigger it, hopefully around here, and then she has speed carryable. Now, it is a second half of the race skill, so if you fail it here, you can always activate it down on going into the finish on this straight, but it is a 6th and 7th / 2nd and 3rd, so most likely you're only going to benefit it from it here if you've already got straightaway spurt, you're taking off, and if you're in 2nd or 3rd place here, you can then pop it on that straight. And so 2nd or 3rd to get that big speed increase, kind of like a triumphant pulse to a certain extent. This will be for the remainder of the race to hopefully win it outright there. So you at least kind of have a backup in that aspect if you miss it there, to try and then just use it as a way to overtake and win the race at the end. Now, this is just looking at it from the Arima Keenan, but another one that we'll be having coming up, which for most people will probably be the first chance you get to use her if you really want to utilize those free pulls and wait them out, will be the Honchin 3200. And so this is the first make a new track one. And so this one has a much longer straightaway here at the end. And so now the late race does start on the straight as well. So you could hit this thing perfectly, but it is going to be kind of a little bit harder to get the speed carryover, but can be just as strong. Being a longer track too, her alt does last a little longer, but it's basically the same basic thing here. Trying to get it into that position to get it and take off. Very, very strong. And from what I've seen, if you can build a strong one, she is better than Goldship in that aspect. Goldship will be a little bit more consistent if you're, I'm trying to get her into a higher position, but if Tamamo Cross is strong enough, her alt is all around just better. And so that is how she's going to kind of work there. And when we take a look at the last part I want to look at for her is her evolutions here. And this is what we'll be getting when we get the 2nd anniversary update, which a lot of people are guessing we're going to be getting that when Make a New Track drops. We've already seen the text. And a lot of people noticed that evolutions were mentioned in the text for the current event. I believe it was just a mistake. They accidentally translated it and left it in there. But some people think that's just a kind of a foreshadowing that we're going to get it when Make a New Track drops, which it very well could be. But when we look at hers, she has Fast and Furious gets evolved to just be another big speed increase. I think it goes from 3.5 to 4.5. Yep. So it makes Fast and Furious a big speed increase. And then she has another one for Fast and Furious, which makes it now have a 0.035 stamina recovery. So that'll be a pretty unique thing for her if you want to build her as a late surger, especially for like mediums, in the sense that one of her downsides is she does not have a heal. But now as a late surger, she does get a heal with this one if you evolve it to that. And then, of course, Tail Held High, or Tail 9, evolves to Tail of Ecstasy, which just makes it an even bigger speed increase of 0.45. Very good for helping her position. And, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, she has stamina skills for all 3 of the tracks that have longs: Honchin, Kyoto, and Nakayama. I don't know if we do any other tracks that are long. I know Honchin's the next one. Kyoto is where we do Kikusho and the Tenosho Spring, and Nakayama is the Arima Keenan. So has those built in. So overall, I feel like Tamamo Cross is very, very strong. She is not meta long term on the end closer side of things, or even the late surger, but she's a very consistent and good Uman. I know a fan favorite. And you cannot go wrong if you want to get her and get her. She will be able to perform well, especially if you build her strong. Her biggest downside is going to just be that lack of heals. And so if you're not able to build her for the Arima Keenan, the next one where she's going to be really strong, the Honchin, the first one to make a new track, is a 3200. And you will be able to hit stats a lot easier. Make a new track will make getting the stamina not a problem, but getting the heals will be a little bit harder. But hopefully you'll be a lot more flexible with your cards. You always have the ability to potentially borrow like Wit and Rita Taishin to get a heal, getting that one. If you have Super Creek, you can get Swinging. If we get, for example, also if we get like the evolutions early, that comes with a buff to the skill Straightaway Recovery or Breath of Fresh Air, which makes it very strong because it activates in the mid race. And so that might be an option. A lot of different things. Just know it'll be a little bit harder to build her on some of these really long ones because of her lack of a built-in heal. But if we get evolutions as a late surger, she does get one built in. So that's pretty much it with her. I think because she has the bonus 500 or 50 pulls to her, she's going to be a very good pickup in that respect. When we look at other characters now, that's the last thing, or other banners just around her in general. We'll go here. One of the things you have right off the bat is going to be a nice nature. Now, for a lot of people, this is a very whale card. You really want to MLB if you're going to use it for making a new track. It's going to get paired with it. We'll be talking about this tomorrow. But if you haven't pulled on it at all, this can eat up a lot of pulls. Very good for making a new track, as well as late surgers down the line with On Your Left, especially when On Your Left gets buffed. But by no means a must pull in any respect. You have Fuku card right after the following week, which if you really want to MLB that, I don't think this is, to me, going to be the just skip it and borrow card for making a new track. But you have that one. You have TM Opera New Year, fairly good Inherit, but you can always pick her up down the line on a selector ticket. She's going to be a little bit harder to activate her alt until we start getting more skills. And a little bit after, you have like Mihono Bourbon coming up. Yeah, you have Mihono Bourbon. You have another big one, Fine Motion card, Key to Sun Black, Naradia Top Road. So a lot of big things coming up, but nothing too crazy. And if she's your Oshi, I feel like she's a really good and easy pickup just because we're getting free pulls on her. You're getting a discount. She's fairly strong. And yeah, that's just my thoughts on her. If you like my content, if you like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.